Hello and welcome to another episode of Digital Marketing Made Simple. I'm your host, Jenny Lyon, and today I'm excited to talk about some of the best ways that you can use a virtual assistant team to create your weekly content. So when you think about the words content creation, what comes to mind, right? Anytime that you sit down to your desk to write something, you are creating content. So whether that's a private email, a newsletter for your email list, or a blog, podcast, YouTube video, it's all content, right? The only difference is the audience that it's meant for. So content creation is very time demanding. I mean, it's probably one of the most time demanding aspects of an online business owner. It can eat up an entire afternoon just sitting down to write a blog post. You know, you really sit and you write and you fine tune every single detail of your message and rethink it and edit it and, think, does this convey the message that I want to get out to my audience? Or, oh my gosh, what if you hit the ever dreaded writer's block? That's why so many small business owners have really taken to using a digital marketing team or a virtual assistant to write the majority of their content. But I get a lot of questions about this, right? I get like, isn't that expensive? Well, not really, not when you consider the amount of time that you're probably spending working on your own content, right? So you can spend all of that time on things that you really should be doing, those 1, 2 things that only you should be doing, that genius area of your business that's going to grow your business, rather than spinning your wheels or wasting your time and energy on things that someone else could do instead. So with that in mind, I pulled together 5 different ways that you could use a virtual team like ours to really revolutionize your business's content creation strategy. So first up is the research and the strategy itself, right? So my first step when working with any of my clients for the first time is to really help them develop a content marketing strategy. So that isn't as easy as you might think. I hear a lot from my clients, well, I have tons of content. I have, all kinds of content, right? But you really need a strategy behind the content, right? And you need to make sure that that content is written for your audience, that the messaging is on point, and that you're really speaking directly to your ideal client and not to everyone, because you can't market to everyone. If you're marketing to everyone, then really you're marketing to no one, right? You should have your ICA like niched down so much that you really want your ideal client, when they see your copy, to think, oh my gosh, that's me. That's written for me. They can help me. That's how you want them to feel. And when it comes to, researching content, then you really have to choose topics, that are really going to resonate with your audience and really connect with them. So do you already have content marketing goals? Well, if so, then I want to help you refine them, right? And if not, then I can help come up with some that will be a perfect fit for your business. So for example, do you often need to explain complex concepts to your audience? If so, you might be thinking about creating some YouTube videos, right? They would be an excellent use of time and energy. And if you want to reach out to your already existing clients and customers, then a monthly newsletter would be an amazing way to connect with them, and maybe even more often. I really highly suggest weekly. But no matter what type of content you're creating, you really, again, have to know that ideal customer avatar that you're speaking to. This is super important for every aspect of your digital marketing strategy. If you close your eyes and imagine your perfect client, who are they, right? You should have an image in your mind. What do they look like? Where do they live? Why are they ideal for you? What are their interests? What are their demographics? These are questions that you really need to answer to come up with that ideal client. And it might require some additional research into your target audience and competitive analysis of your competitors, to really define that target audience and those social media demographics to figure out exactly who we should be creating your content for. So next up, of course, is setting up whatever you're going to use for your weekly content. So whether that's a blog, a podcast, a YouTube video, it doesn't matter. You don't have to do all three, but you should really pick one and stick with it. So a great place to start if you're a newbie, for content marketing strategy is a weekly blog. But I do have clients that start with a podcast or a video. It doesn't matter which one you choose, it's going to become the centerpiece of all of your digital marketing strategy. So you just want to pick one that you feel most comfortable with, that you feel will really connect with your audience, and stick with it. So for example, if you haven't updated your website in years or months, then a weekly piece of content like a blog, a podcast, a video, that can be just what you need to really kickstart that traffic flowing again. So a weekly piece of new content, it'll not only jumpstart your website, but it also helps you build your email list and your social media following. So once that weekly content comes out, you always have something to share with your audience, right? So you can post about it on social media, or you can blast it out to your email list. Here's where knowing your ideal client avatar really comes in handy. It really won't do you any good to be creating content that none of your potential customers want to read, right? But if we know who your ideal client avatar is, then we can create an editorial calendar full of topics that will be super interesting to them. And if you already have a blog, a podcast, or a YouTube channel, maybe you haven't updated it in a while. Well, that's a fantastic resource to have on hand, because you can take that old content and recycle it. You could maybe do some punch-ups or updates. I will reuse older pieces of my clients' content and turn them into current content, or maybe take some of that content and create new lead magnets or funnels, that can really energize your website and your audience. And then next up is graphics. So graphic design is really a key component to every content creation strategy, right? I mean, gosh, it really doesn't matter how great your content is if no one wants to look at it. The first part is you really want to make sure that your website is very attractive and functional, right? You can create really brand new graphics for your website and have it really looking polished and modern in no time. And if you haven't done any updates to maybe your logo or the overall design, then that might not accurately reflect on your business anymore. So maybe thinking about doing a website redesign, which is something we do all the time. We'll audit our clients' websites and then go back and redesign and recreate the copy, basically go through every piece of it, rewrite it, really infuse the personality of our client and their story into it. So it can be a great way to revitalize a blog that maybe hasn't been refreshed in some time. And then once you have that new design, you can really incorporate those graphics into all aspects of your content marketing strategy. So for example, attractive graphics can significantly enhance your social media post, right? It'll automatically draw eyes into your newsfeed, and email newsletters can suddenly stand out, in your customers' inboxes instead of being, consigned to the junk or the deleted folders, right? We can even create some social media graphic templates that you could reuse over and over again. So that's something that I hear all the time from my clients is, I love your newsletter. I love your social media, and that's how you want your clients to feel. You want them to really be drawn to it and even save your newsletters so that they can search out content later on. And then next up, especially when it comes to your audience, and it's so important, is engagement, but also scheduling. So another way that we help all of our clients to save considerable amounts of time is by handling all of their content scheduling and any engagement. So for example, when it comes to social media marketing, right? Effective scheduling is a necessity. You want to make sure that your social media is going out at the highest times of engagement for your audience. We want to get as many eyes on that content as possible. And the same goes for your newsletter. You can look at your newsletter analytics and see what dates and times does your newsletter do better. Well, we want to create more content for that time, right? And then when it comes to engagement, that really is the key when it comes to especially social media. I mean, without it, it's just media, right? And by taking the time as a small business owner, out of your day to head over to Instagram, that's a terrible idea. Believe me, as a small business owner, I know I have a rule. I do not look at social media unless I'm working on it for a client during business hours because social media like Instagram, it can be a time sink, right? It can suck you in. And even if you're only spending time on your own profile, you can still get dragged in. You can, I should reply to these comments. Oh, I saw something. I should comment on it. Oh, I have a question here, right? So the best way to avoid that is by hiring a virtual assistant team that can write content for you, can create an overall digital marketing, content marketing strategy, but then also create all the graphics, do all the scheduling and the engagement as well without you having to lift a finger. Your audience will receive amazing social media posts or amazing newsletters, or they'll be so excited to get your blog each week or your podcast or video. And you won't have to do anything, other than maybe provide a little bit of direction on content. And of course, when you hand off all of your engagement on those accounts, well, all of this together, this automation really is a fantastic way to ensure a regular content marketing schedule that will increase traffic to your website. And that content is really going to build an engaged community everywhere else. And of course, last but not least is to analyze your results. I can't say this enough. Coming up with a content creation strategy really is pointless if you aren't paying attention to your results, right? When it comes to content, course correction really is vital, right? If you write a piece of content that does awful, you need to know about it, right? That way you can avoid that topic in the future. On the flip side, if you create content that just does better than expected, then you want to double down on it, right? Maybe you want to spin it off into another piece of content. Maybe you create a lead magnet out of that or a funnel. There are so many tools available to analyze how your content is doing. You can start with your website's back end and like Google Analytics, Squarespace, WordPress, pretty much all of the website hosting and creation tools offer several different types of plugins that you can use to track how your content is doing. But you can also check your insights on Facebook and Instagram. You can look at all of your analytics within your email marketing system. And if your audience isn't responding the way that you would expect or the way that you want them to, then it's time to figure out some different strategies. All right, so let's recap. What did we learn today, right? So, first up, content creation is one of the most time-consuming parts of a digital marketing strategy. You always need to create a content strategy before creating the content, right? So you need to research, right? Research is going to be a vital part of figuring out who your ideal client avatar is. You want to make sure that that weekly piece of content is a great first step in your strategy to get people into your audience and into your website, your funnels as a raving fan. And you can use a weekly piece of content to drive traffic to your website from social media, from newsletter. There's lots of different ways. And of course, I know you have a lot of content. We all have a lot of content, right? And you can recycle those older pieces of content to create new content. And graphic design really will enhance any content creation strategy. So you definitely want to pair the two together. Take my advice, avoid going on to social media by scheduling your social media posts ahead of time, right? Or use a virtual assistant team like ours to do all of your scheduling and all of your engagement. Social media can be a huge time sink, and that is one thing that we as small business owners do not have extra of, time. Once you've created some content, you want to make sure that you analyze how that content is really working for your audience. How are they receiving it? Are they enjoying it? Is it falling flat? You always want to be course correcting your content strategy. In my experience, most small business owners are not experienced and professional copywriters. They don't need to be. They don't. Their talents lie elsewhere most of the time. Some are professional writers. It's always fun to try your hand at writing. Whether it is your weekly blog, podcast, or video, you might want to, try it out. You might. I invite you to check out my free download. I have a blog breakdown workbook. It basically structures how to write a blog that will connect with your audience, and you can tailor it into a script for your podcast or your YouTube video as well. And of course, if you don't have time to practice to start writing, oh my goodness, can you imagine adding that to your list? Then I invite you to contact me for a free consultation. I can help you set up a very comprehensive content marketing strategy that will increase engagement with your social media followers, with your email list. It'll bring new people into your funnels and really drive people to your website, which is going to result in more sales. So before you go, definitely grab the free download. You can grab it at jennylyon.com/blog breakdown and check out the workbook. And of course, reach out if you have any questions at all. I'm always happy to jump on a call and answer some questions. I hope that you found these tips on ways to create content for your online business helpful. And if you have any questions, please reach out, and I'll see you next week on another episode of Digital Marketing Made Simple.